Hello friends, we have new details about yesterday's beating of Ukrainians in Wroclaw. The attackers have been detained. We'll examine cases where Ukrainians, to put it mildly, behave oddly and what sets them apart. We'll discuss everything now. We have two news items. Please like and subscribe to the channel now. Thanks to everyone for your quick support. It only takes 2 seconds to help the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Now let's move on to Wroclaw. Yesterday's story took an interesting new turn. Yes, details have emerged about what happened at the Żabka. Some young people enter the store. Anastasia and Maxim have been living in Poland for 8 years now. Yes, that's for those who want to ask why they're not at the front. You can ask me why I'm not at the front. So Anastasia and Maxim come in for some drinks. Everything is quiet and peaceful, just shopping. They paid. Can you imagine? Although Ukrainians usually get everything for free, but this time no, they paid. Then Anastasia makes a fatal mistake. She decides to go back for a bun and gets in line. And now our main character appears on the scene. A certain Adam S. A character with a deep and tragic biography. He served 10 years in prison and great athletic achievements. In other words, he is an MMA fighter. In some circles, the man is known as a fighter with the Gromda promotion. That's where they fight with bare knuckles, though according to rumors, I'm not an expert. Fans of the genre have already commented that he's a pretty average athlete, because as the polls wrote, in the ring there, anyone who wanted to would literally wipe the floor with him. I'm not sure if that's true. Actually, it's not. It's just talk. So this ring genius and his buddy just cut in line right in front of a girl and put down his beer, which was already open. So the girl calls him out. She says, "Hey, you were supposed to be behind me." And then what happened? This isn't just a comment, it's a bold challenge to something sacred. I mean, what did you expect? Because damn, it was a Ukrainian girl who provoked a tough MMA fighter, since they have a very delicate emotional makeup. How else could it be? How else can you explain that a professional athlete with 10 years of prison experience instantly felt a deadly threat to his honor and dignity? I mean, what do they think they're doing? And the man stood up to defend true Polish patriotism. In his mind, of course, there was a loss. The whole sacred meaning of existence flashed before him. What is this anyway? What is this? What is this Poland? Who even gave you Ukrainians the right to breathe this sacred Polish air and tell me where I can stand with my beer? What do you think you're doing? Well, the girl only has herself to blame. She's Ukrainian. She inflicted irreparable mental trauma on him just by making that remark. And on top of that, she finished him off with her accent. And of course, the nerve to remind him of the rules. What is that? The man instantly got worked up, started insulting her based on her nationality, and after leaving the store, he went from words to actions. The guy, Maxim, tried to protect her, but, well, he didn't do very well. He didn't speak Polish very well. Of course, this only gives the patriots even more of an adrenaline rush. Well, I'll tell you, I have acquaintances who have lived in Poland for a long time, but they don't speak very well. That's because they either work mostly with Ukrainians, or they just work remotely and don't have language practice. They haven't taken the exam yet. Yes, it happens. A person lives in a country but hasn't learned the language yet. Anyway, let's get back to the topic. A street fight is starting. There. So basically, Anastasia ran up to a passerby to ask for help, but the passerby turned out to be a friend of the attackers, and instead of helping, he also joins the fight. In the end, the 3 strong guys bravely beat up the guy who fell to the ground. Well, and the girls got up. He gets hit in the face so hard that his ear gets torn. Well, of course, everything is by the rules, by MMA rules. Yeah, isn't that right? Then the events unfold according to the classic scenario. Diplomacy. The head of the Ukrainian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Andriy Sibiha, instructs the consulate to urgently look into the matter. He sends an official request to the police. The mayor of Wroclaw, Jacek Sutryk, says all the right things about how the city does not tolerate xenophobia. However, he also notes that this is far from the first incident. It's surprising, and it's a worrying sign, and then they got to work. By the way, yes, counterterrorism got involved for Adam. He tried to quickly get out of the city, but they didn't let him. He was detained while trying to leave. Minister of Internal Affairs Marcin Kierwiński and police spokesperson Alexandra Frois report 2 people with criminal records have already been detained. The motive of national hatred has been established. Friends, well, the story looks, of course, you could say absurd, if it weren't for the hospital and the beatings, right? Let's not kid ourselves. Now the legal assembly line will begin. These investigations and trials that drag on for 2 years are no treat to watch. What would be a truly effective mechanism for such patriots? What do you think? Write in the comments. I don't have my own opinion. But the taxi driver I ride with says that each of these fighters, these so-called fighters, should be fined 500,000 zlotys in favor of the victims, immediately and without hesitation. Then for such thug behavior and itchy fists, they'd have to pay the price of a good apartment, not just spend a couple of years listening to boring speeches from lawyers. Then their patriotism will disappear. Write in the comments what you think. Take care of yourselves. Look around, even when you're just buying a bun at Jabka. Yes, an important note. Watch, it's about to start. And there was a Ukrainian who did something there once. Let me explain the difference between an ordinary crime and a hate crime motivated by national hatred. The main difference is not in what someone did, but in why and for what reason. That's it. Ordinary crime is driven by classic self-interest or mundane personal motives. A person robs a passerby because that person has an iPhone and I don't. Or he attacks his neighbor for playing loud music. The motive is greed, personal dislike, or just plain drunken hooliganism. The victim here is a specific person with a specific iPhone. Next, a hate crime driven by national hatred. Here, instead of brains, the attacker has a primitive ideology in his head. The victim is chosen solely because of their passport color, accent, or the shape of their nose. The attacker doesn't care at all who this person is. He's not attacking a specific Nastya or Maxim. He sees this person as a stand-in for an entire foreign tribe. They must be destroyed, you understand? That's basically the whole difference in social effect. An ordinary thug harms one person, but a xenophobe, through his actions, sends a signal: you're not wanted here, we hate you. To an entire group of people who haven't done anything bad to them. Volin has nothing to do with it here, really. And of course, if you're a fool, be sure to write in the comments, this is for Volin. That's it. And this attacker, he's provoking discord and fear in society. That's exactly why, in the legislation of most normal countries, a motive of national hatred is automatically considered an aggravating circumstance. For a regular black eye in a fight, you might just get a fine or a suspended sentence. But for the same thing, if you shout, "Get out of our country, we hate you here." If you say, "We're going to kill you," you get real prison time. And let's hope that's how this case turns out. Well, look, this isn't the end of the story yet, friends. We're continuing our segment. I'm afraid it might become a regular thing. Chronicles of everyday life and cultural leisure. Let's move to Sunday night into Monday, when people are supposed to be resting before work. To the cozy little town of Bielsko-Biała. Ocheny Street. This is the center. It's a historic part of town, the old town. It's beautiful there. There, wine costs 40 zlotys per liter. The scene unfolds around midnight, 12:18 a.m. Peter, a Czech citizen who owns a local establishment, steps outside for some fresh night air. He might have a drink, though everything is closed. And what does he see? A man is lying picturesquely on the pavement. Nearby, a cheerful group stands and assures the passerby with a straight face. "Dude, everything's fine." The guy just lay down to rest. He's tired, resting before work. He's sleeping. The Czech citizen, being particularly vigilant, noticed the sleeping man's t-shirt was covered in blood and had trouble getting a response from him. Mr. Peter acts responsibly. He gives first aid, calls the city guard, and then the police and ambulance arrive. A patrol and medics show up. And right there, they quickly detain a group of 4 young men who appeared to be Ukrainian. One of them is 22 years old, a citizen. The injured person with a broken nose is taken to the hospital by ambulance after the fight. Upon further examination, it turns out that the injured person has 2.5 promille of alcohol in his system. Well, actually, that's a lot. Let's put it that way. To put it mildly, that's not a small amount. Of course, it also depends on the person's weight, whether they're 70 kilograms or 120. Lots. In short, the victim regained consciousness and made a statement that was brilliant in its drama. "My comrade in arms hit me." Well, that was the gist of it, right? The words were a bit different, and during the investigation, it quickly became clear that the main architect of this incident and the broken nose was an 18-year-old compatriot of the victim who had a modest 1 promille of alcohol on his breath. So, 4 fine fellows got together, had a good drink, and then a split happened within the group. A philosophical one, probably based on cultural exchange. The real circus began when law enforcement got involved. As it turned out, the citizens speak Polish quite well, but when the police showed up, all 4 of them suddenly had an attack of amnesia. They instantly forgot how to speak Polish at all, like, "Me no understand you, we were just passing by, I have no idea what's going on here." Yes, the bar owner, a Czech named Peter, gave this story a deep philosophical foundation. Right now, the city is discussing a possible ban on selling alcohol at night. Mr. Peter correctly noted, in the Czech Republic, our laws are more lenient, yet there's much less chaos on the streets. Bans don't work because forbidden fruit is sweet. People need to be educated about responsible drinking, not just have a lock put on the store. Of course, you can argue with him here and you can write your opinion in the comments, but I think that when you have sawdust instead of culture in your head and 2.5 promille in your blood, the lack of alcohol in a late-night convenience store won't stop you. That's it. You'll find alcohol anyway and you'll end up breaking someone's nose. That's what our nightlife looks like. Yes, the Ukrainian community in Bielsko-Biała will face criticism as people will start generalizing about them again. Friends, look, if we put all the jokes and sarcasm aside, I am absolutely against crime, lawlessness, and street chaos. And don't be surprised, no matter what color your passport is, Polish, Ukrainian, American, Czech, Martian, I don't care. Everyone is absolutely required to follow the laws and basic norms of human society. Right now, there will definitely be some great thinkers in the comments who will be shocked by my words, wondering how a Ukrainian like me dares to say such things. Now their indignant minds will boil over, and of course they will boldly write in the comments, "Give up your Polish passport." Well, the comments are open for idiots, but I hope there will be more reasonable people in the comments. Thank you for your attention. Take care of yourselves and loved ones. Yes, right now this seems more relevant than ever, in my opinion. And there's still a year until the elections, so yes, I think tomorrow or the day after we'll do an analysis of the political situation in Poland. You can write in the comments, who do you think you are? How can you discuss Polish politicians? I don't know, will 6 special forces on you? How dare you? All right. Friends, that's all for now. A big shout out to the working class. Taxi drivers, truckers. Truckers, you're great. You've got your hands full and you still watch and listen all the way to the end. That's all. Write the city where you watched to the end. It's important. See you next time.